Folks, welcome to the Big Data Engineering for Analytics course. In this video, I'm trying to walk you through the key steps involved in setting up the technical stack of Spark using both Scala IDE as well as PyCharm in a Windows 10 machine. So there's going to be multiple tools that are need to be set up, and this video is going to walk you through all the installation steps in a very brief manner. So the software that you would need in order to be able to complete this set of installation instruction is a JDK version of 8, a Utils, which is downloaded from the proper URL pointed to you in the workshop instruction. You might need 7-zip in order for you to be able to unzip the Spark version of Hadoop in the Windows platform. We are looking at PyCharm as the IDE for the Python version that we are using here, in this case 3.6.8, as mandated by the Hadoop version. We are using Scala 2.11.11, again mandated by Spark 2.4.4 version. We also get the Scala ID, which is the latest, and it can help you connect with the Scala tools. There's one more software that is missing here, which is the SBT tool. I'll also show you how to download these things. So let's get started by installing the JDK first. So if you want to install the JDK, you have a Windows installer image as shown here, and you start that. So that should help you get the SDK running. So you may have to start installation of the wizard through a few steps. So once the wizard starts, you'll be asked to select all the default settings for the SE development kit, and you can choose to install all the versions that I have done here, or you can also choose to not download the source code if you decide to. So once you click on the next, you will see that it starts extracting the installer. It takes a few minutes for you to be able to go through the wizard, and then the installation progresses for a few seconds as shown in this video here. It'll ask you for the default installation folder. So here is where you have to pick your destination folder. So in this case, you can see that it is pointing to C program files JRE. I'm going to take the default, so I'm not going to change anything. So I'm going to select the next and then go on and proceed with this installation. So here again, it proceeds with the default program files folder, and it first installs the Java runtime environment. Subsequently, it will pick up the Java development kit and then go ahead and install the additional tools necessary for it as well. So give it a few minutes for the installation folder to execute, and then you'll be able to look into the next step of the installation menu as shown here. So you can see that it has successfully installed, and the next step is to go ahead and then install the JDK guides and additional release notes. So I can choose to close now since the installation is successful. The next job is to make sure that the Java is also inside the path, for which I may have to go back to my installation folder, select the PC, right click and look into the property folders of it, and choose the advanced system settings here, and this will open up the system setting menu. Give it a minute or two, and then select the environment variables here. Okay. And if you look into the path and then if you edit for it, you should be able to see the Java installation. So at the moment you can see that this is not included in the path. Yeah, it is included, common files Java path. Okay, but let's see if this works as expected, because we can test it whether the version of the Java is working. So how do we test it? We open a command prompt here, cmd, and just type in for Java minus version, and we should be able to see the latest version which we have just installed, and it seems to work fine. So it says Java version 1.8.0.267. So this is exactly where the Java folder is installed, and we are quite happy about it. We may want to set up a path folder because certain tools use Java Home to be able to identify the value of the Java Home. So if you look at it, it is currently not installed. So it is possible for us to set up this path file for Java Home and see if it is working through. So let's go ahead and then set up the path variable for Java next, and we'll be able to um, so here we are going to create a path variable, and we are going to adjust the path variable based on the Java installation. So we proceed to create a variable name called Java underscore home, and we put the path as C program files Java JDK as the default path, and we select this variable. Then again we go back to this path setup and edit it. So you can see that there is this common files Oracle shortcut which is pointing to program files 86. I'm going to delete that, and instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new path variable that's going to point out to the Java home slash bin. So how do I do that? I just say percentage Java underscore home, and again percentage. So this is where the installation folder has been put, and then the binary path of it. Okay, so this will set up Java inside the path. In order for me to test it, let me just set up this variable, and again what I can do is I can open a command prompt, and here again I can type in minus version to make sure that this is picking up the right version of JDK, which it has, and you can see it is probably pointing to the 180.261 version that we have just connected to the Java home path. Now that we have set up the variable, if you look at Java home underscore, so you can see that it points to the program files Java JDK folder as well. So this completes the Java installation, and moving further, we are going to continue installing the other tools. Following this, the next set of installation is to try and download a Utils package, which is going to mimic submissions to Hadoop folders. So this is going to mimic the Hadoop 2.7.1 bin folder. So in order for us to be able to use it, we have to copy the exe file, which is winutils.exe, to a subfolder called c winutils/bin. So let's first create the winutils folder. So go to the C drive, create a first subfolder by the name winutils, utils, plural, and inside there create another binary folder called bin, which is the binary file. And once this is created, make sure that you come to the downloads folder, copy the winutils exe into the binary folder as well. Okay, and this has to be set up inside the path. Okay, so this is necessary for Spark to be able to execute Hadoop variables, and it is also important that you set this up as the Hadoop home. So Hadoop home should be pointing to C winutils, and the path should include Hadoop home/bin as usual. So let's see how to do that. Again, I go into variable names, properties. Sorry. So it should be the PC, not the C drive, properties. So that should get you the control panel for advanced system setting, same environment variables. So if you come here, just like we have created a Java variable home, okay, and it is also important that you start creating another variable called Hadoop home. So just like Java home, you're going to create another one called Hadoop underscore home. And this one should be pointing to C :/winutils, exactly the same name that you try to create without any typo. So go to the path, edit it. Just like you have put Java home in the bin, you're going to add one more which says percentage Hadoop underscore home percentage, the path variable, slash bin as well. So this will give you every command prompt that you open to be able to connect it to the WinUtils executable that we have just downloaded. Okay. So you have set the path, you say okay, and you come back. So that basically covers the Hadoop part of installation. The next installation is a bit interesting because this is about the Spark download. Okay. So once you have done that, you can see that it is basically a executable file. Okay. So what you do is you make a copy of this file into the C drive first. Okay. So just keep a copy of it. It needs administrator rights, so I don't have any problem giving that. So you select the 7-zip file and then you say extract here. Okay. So this is going to basically do an extraction. And please note that Spring is a double compression. So you may have to use only 7-zip because 7-zip guarantees that the files are not corrupted. It also helps you to do the double unzip very easily. So please make sure that you have installed 7-zip before you are proceeding with the set of tools as I've shown here. Okay. So give it a bit of time. Okay. It says access denied, so let's try again. So I think I chose the wrong item. Okay, so when I say 7-zip, it's not extract here. Just blindly say extract files and that would do. So make sure this points to C drive. Okay, and you can directly be on the root, which is fine. And this should get it extracted. Sorry again. So let's go one more time. Right click, 7-zip. Extract files. Okay, just say okay. So you can see that it gets extracted to the subfolder, and inside there is this double zip again, which you may have to extract one more time. Just say extract files. Do. I was trying to avoid creation of a subfolder, but I think I can't help it as of now. So I'll allow this to unzip and then move it up the original files. You can actually leave it as such, but you may have to put in the double Spark 2.4.6 bin and then one more time Spark 2.4.6 bin. So this is basically what I'm trying to avoid. So I'm going to delete the intermediate tar file. Then you can see there are a lot of files that are created. I just select that. I come back to the root and copy it here. Okay. Then I move that obsolete folder. So this is the file that I need for the Spark. Okay, so that's basically my Spark Home setup as well. So I just have to point this folder as the Spark Home. Okay, so let me just copy the path. Go back to my environment variables as I usually did. So advanced system variables, environment variable. So make sure that I create a new one. Call this as spark underscore home. And this is going to point me to the C folder that I've just created. And my path file, which is the path variable, also has to be edited. I'll create a new variable, which is percentage spark underscore home percentage backslash bin. Okay. So this is including the Sparks home folder as well. So just to make sure that it is created, spark underscore home has been created, right? So this is another variable that I have to put it inside. So now the spark folder is also done. Okay. So now that we have installed Java, then we have installed Spark. We have also installed Hadoop Home. The subsequent thing that we'll be needing to continue here is the Scala language, the SBT tool as well as the Scala ID. Okay, so let's go do these things one by one. The next thing is to install Scala. So I'm going to go back to my downloads folder, pick up the Scala, which is 211, which is an installer here. So I'm going to continue installing this by double clicking the Scala 211. So that starts up my startup wizard like this. I click on the next button. So just like Java, it lands me on the Scala licensing page. I accept the license and then I click on the next button. So this is going to show me the default installation folder. I'm not going to change anything, just exactly like I did for the Java. I'm going to take up the defaults and then click next. So this gets me into the install folder where I would select the installation for the installation to begin. So as you can see, it's going to ask me for administrative rights, which I'm going to select yes, and then this goes ahead and then starts installing all the related language compiler as well as the interpreter libraries. Give it a couple of minutes for this to be finished, and then we could continue further with the IDE and the build tool as necessary. So as you can see, if the installation is completed successfully, it will come into this finish button, and that will allow you to exit the setup. So when you click finish button, it is going to exit the wizard and then go on to the next. Let's move on to the next step of installation. As usual, the next step is to verify if the installation is successful. So if you go into program files, you're not able to see Scala. So you have to, by default, look at the 86 architecture. So that's the default location of Scala installation. And in there, you can find that there is this folder called C program files Scala. And I'm going to copy this path because I'm going to create another environment variable as usual. So you can see that I'm going to the same, you can actually do it all in one shot, but I'm just trying to show you step by step so that it's easy for you to. Okay, so I'm creating Scala underscore home, and I'm putting the path of the folder there, and that basically means that I have to include that into my um, just like Spark home. I got to so you can see that it already puts in the Scala bin here. Right? So you can read that, or you can put it into the Scala bin folder, whichever is easier for you. So I'm going to create a Scala underscore home percentage backslash bin for the path. So this way I control, if there are multiple versions of Scala home, I control which one is going to take precedence. Okay, so that's all, and it is done. So the next thing is to move on to SBT download tool. So as you can see, I have not put that inside my downloads folder again. So I'm going to open up a browser and show you where to download that from. So I'm going to say SBT Windows download. Okay. So that gets me to the download page. There are multiple versions. You can very easily pick up the latest version, which is 1.3.13 MSI. So when I click on that, you can see that's again an Microsoft installer file, which is used to build the SBT tool. So once the download is okay, I'm going to double click on that to see if it starts running. So it is usually giving me a warning that it's an executable file, but I'm going to proceed anyway. Okay, so I'm confident about this, so I'm going to say run anyway. So that starts the SBT setup wizard, as you can see here. So I'll proceed to install the tool, and it always points me to the license agreement. So I got to select the license agreement and click on next to proceed with the installation wizard. So I have to accept the default settings here, and I click on the next as usual. and asks me for installation folder, which I can select for the installation to get started. Just like the many other tools, it's going to take a while to install. So I select the installation file and go ahead with the administrator warning, and then it completes. I click on the finish to complete this visit. Again, very similar to the Scala and the Java, SBT also goes and sits inside the program86 folder. So in order for us to verify that, you select on the C drive x86, you'll be able to see the SBT folder and the bin subfolder. So I'm going to select this, also put this as an environment path, as you can guess. So I go back to my PC properties, advanced system variables. It's taking a while. Okay, done. So environment variables. So here again, I create a new one. I'm going to call this as SBT home this time. So this is Scala build homes tools slash home. And then I copy the variable path that I've just figured out. Okay, so I say okay. And as usual, I got to make sure this is being included inside the path. So I just say edit. And you can see it all hard codes it, so I'm going to remove that. Okay, instead I'm going to create a new one which uses my path instead, sbt underscore home percentage backslash bin. Okay, so this path of the tool is also done. So we have just left with the IDE and the Python installation. So let me continue with those two. So if you go into the downloads folder, you can see that we have already have a compressed file. So let me copy this into C drive as usual, just like I did for the Spark installation. So I need administrative rights and I'm going to be okay with that. So I just right click and 7-zip and say extract files. So it's going to go and directly sit as Scala SDK final. So I'm going to be okay with that name. So when I say OK, you can see that it goes and creates a folder which says Scala SDK, all the necessary installation folder. So give it a couple of minutes for the installation to be complete, and then you can go in and see if the IDE is enabled. So you can see it's nothing but an Eclipse installation folder inside, and it's pretty much Eclipse setup, which is completely customized for Scala projects. So we'll be using that to be able to create projects. So let's just run it and test if it's working once the unzip is over, to see if the installation works fine. So if you go inside, it's just an Eclipse folder which is customized to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a shortcut to this first. So let me just say create shortcut, and this shortcut I'm going to send it to desktop. Okay, so I'm going to say send it to desktop. So you can see that on the desktop it's creating an Eclipse shortcut folder. So I'll rename this to Scala IDE, so I know that I'm starting this every time. And just for the brevity's sake, I'm going to create a workspace in the D drive. So I'm going to call this as new folder Scala workspace. Or I can simply call it as workspace. No harm. So I'm going to use this as my starting path. So let me just select this path, copy. So whenever I start Scala ID, I want to start here. So by default, it's going to point me to the user drive. Since I do not want to overload the C drive, I'm going to create my workspace inside the D folder. So you can see that it default points me to the C drive. So I'm going to use the D for my workspace, so that I don't have to worry about backing up too often and making sure that the C drive is going full. Okay, so you can see that this basically starts the Oxygen version of Eclipse. So once the Eclipse opens, we just have to ensure that we have the Scala perspective inside. So that basically tells us that the project is capable of doing Scala projects. So when you look at the IDE, you can see on the right corner, it gives you the Scala workbench perspective. So this looks fine. Okay, so I'm going to close the installation process as of now. So I've finished installing Java JDK. I finished installing Utils for Hadoop. I finished unzipping the Spark folders. Then I proceeded to create Scala installation, followed by Scala build tool installation, and then lastly followed by Scala IDE installation. So now that the Scala set is over, the next thing I'm going to focus on is Python. So for the Python file, as mentioned, I have basically downloaded the Python file, which is 3.6, which is good for me to be. I don't think I got the right version. Is AMD the right version? I'm not sure. Eh, Um, I have a doubt now, so I'm not sure whether I should proceed or go and check into the folder installation. I remember um, that the installation was an Intel version. I didn't have to worry too much about the AMD, but I think this is fine. It's just the PC that it was created with. So I'll just go ahead and install this. So I'm going to install the version. So you can see that it installs now. Okay? So I can also add the Python to the path if I would like to. Okay? So I can select the installer, install now for all users. Okay? So yeah, um, I can also choose the location if I want to. Um, I think we can customize the location to C drive. Okay? Yeah, so all the Python files are connected here. So instead of putting it in this in the user file, let me just put it on the roots, okay, as just Python and Python 6. Right, this is good enough, right? So I'm just customizing the path here, and then when I click on the install, I will be able to. Okay? So just to capture here, I have the optional features all installed now. I've chosen the custom installation path, and on that I'm picking all the document optional features, and then I'm customizing the install location as CC Python. So when I click on the install, the installation starts. So as you can observe here, the installation of core development libraries happen. So give it some time for the installation to be complete. So this is complete the successful installation of Python. So when I click on the close of the wizard, it completes the installation. It's already in the path, but if you'd like to wish to check that as well, you can go into the property files, okay, advanced system settings, environment variables, and then if you scroll down to the path variable and then look at the edit, you can see that it would have probably added it into the. Okay, it has not done it, so no problem, we can do that. So let's check if it's inside this path. Yeah, it's there, you see. So you can see that Python 3.6 is already inside, even the scripts is inside. So that should basically help you, but it has been put in as a user variable. Okay? So I don't think that's a big issue. So let's test the environment by just typing in the commands, and you'll be able to see all those. So I'm opening a command prompt, as you can see here, and what we're trying to do here is we're basically trying to check for all the verified versions. So when I say Java sorry minus version, this will probably show me the current version that's being installed on the folder. So the next thing is to test for Scala. So I can say Scala minus version. So this will show me the correct installation version of Scala. So it tells me it's 2.11.11 that's being installed. So what I can do is I can also test for SBT. So when I ask for SBT minus version, it's going to show me the SBT version that's currently being installed here as well. So it should tell me whatever blah blah version, very likely 1.3 point whatever version that we have installed comes in as display. So these things are to just verify that the installations that we have gone through, the steps that we have come across to install the particular tools for Java, Scala, and all these things are working fine. Okay, so give it some time. It should be okay to wait for the answers. So it takes a bit of time, as you can see, but finally it should give you the version as 1.313 as you can look into this window. Also, you can check on the Python version, okay, but it is a double dash. So when you want to check on Python version, use a double dash and version, you'll be able to see the right Python version. So this basically executes all the necessary variable and allows you to be able to have the technical environment to proceed with the projects. Okay? So this basically means the installation is successful, and then we can proceed to create two sub exercises. One, we will create a Spark in Scala IDE. Another one is we will create a Spark project in Python and then do the testing. Okay? So thank you. So this basically completes the full installation instructions.